I like putting it right in front of Rob's face.
That's fine.
FORTitude, Fort Worth.
BP. Welcome back to FORTitude, folks. J.W. Wilson, along with my co-host Brinton Payne, and the cake on the table is significant because this is the beginning day of season 2 of FORTitude. So happy second birthday, Brinton. You look great.
I'm only on my third inhale through my nose. I read that if you breathe 7 times through your nose and out your mouth in a minute, you're gonna calm down. And I often have to do this with my illustrious partner here.
Excellent.
Who has actually done, I hate to say it, a pretty nice job doing this studio. Don't you think?
It looks excellent. I think
welcome to the brand new Captex studio. By the way, you're wearing a nice hat. Have you noticed my nice new mug?
Yeah.
These are from our good friends at Captex Bank, who is our wonderful new sponsor, Brinton. And I have a couple things to tell you about these nice folks. One of them goes by the name of Mike Thomas.
Yep.
You probably know him.
Yep.
Mike Thomas is the kind of guy that lets you call him day and night with a problem or a concern. Maybe Texas Tech has won or lost, probably to TCU. And he will respond to you. Not many bank presidents that I know of will respond to a text or call day or night. Agreed?
Yes, agreed. And, no matter where Mike is, 19th hole at Colonial or in his big bed that he told us about that he bought that adjusts up and down for all of the things.
A lifty bed, yes.
Yes. No, I'm kidding. Mike's a great guy and really thank him very much for sponsoring us and being able to do this.
The thing about Captex we need to tell people is that there's only 2 local banks in Fort Worth, truly local banks, out of 60 of them out there. Captex is one of those 2. They are a local bank run by local guys, and so they have lots of local experience, over 100 years actually. So they say they're Main Street, not Wall Street Bank, which is kind of a cool spiel. So
yeah,
if you're looking for a bank and you want to stay local, you already shop local, we know.
Yeah,
might as well bank local, right?
And they got the great logo with CT.
Exactly.
Oh, I thought that CT was the guy from Magnum with the helicopters, but that was actually TC, I think.
Correct.
Thank you, Rob.
So do you want to get that
Thank
thing
you for the Magnum affirmation, Magnum PI, a show that nobody's familiar with. But I guess you were of the era, though, right?
Barely.
Yeah.
Barely.
Well, the person you are talking to is a good dude. He's a friend. He's a great human being. He's got a great family. It's the greatness of Rob Semple. Welcome to the show, Rob.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here.
Quiet down, crowd. Quiet down.
Yeah, please.
How long have you been playing lacrosse professionally, Rob?
You're on the wrong sheet.
The Super Bowl win the second time with the Dallas Cowboys was better than the first, or?
Rob, thank you for being here, my friend. Known you a long time. We're the same age. We're much younger than this fellow over here, so we'll try to keep him
3 people from your office called me old today coming in here. Did you tell him to say that?
No, I did not.
You sure?
You probably should listen. Anyway, Rob, as we sit as currently the commissioner of the West Side Little League, correct?
Yeah, I'm the president.
Excuse me. We need to edit that out.
Yeah, please do. It's a very distinguished title. So
President.
Very proud of it.
I'm not applauding for you. That's for JW's faux pas on the show that he makes
at least
momently.
So we'll have a few of these.
At least I remembered your name. I forgot a few names last season. So, as president of the West Side Little League, what's your function?
So Westside Little League's a 501c3. We have been around, since 1954. We're about to begin our 68th season. As president, we are a 100% volunteer-led organization. So I oversee a board of really, really good volunteers, and I guess a group of really, really good coaches underneath that. And it's everything from managing a concession stand to making sure the fields are mowed to this afternoon I'm going up to hang sponsorship shines on the outfield fences.
Yeah.
I had Honor Society kids out there this weekend painting the fences. So you're kind of a coordinator, if you will, of again, very generous volunteer hours.
What age kids? What's the gap? It's boys and girls.
It's boys and girls, mostly boys. We start really about age 4 and go through 12. 12 would be the year that you would theoretically go to the Little League World Series, which I'm sure many people have seen on television.
Surely.
Yeah.
This concession stand you spoke of just previously, This is a money-making machine, by the way, correct? I remember going there years back in the day, but for $1, you get a hot dog. The prices are all really good prices. We're not complaining with the prices, but those kids are just pouring cash into that sucker.
It is it helped, believe it or not, it helps kind of sustain a lot of our operation. We only the actual enrollment cost is only about 50% of our budget, so the rest of the budget has to be covered by donations and things like proceeds from the concession stand.
It's not going into your pocket?
No, I'm trying to avoid that. I've seen a few Little League presidents in other regions who have done that, and I think they're currently serving time. I'm just not that into going to jail, so I'm gonna keep that above board.
Excellent.
The nacho cheese is 1 or 2 molecules away from pure plastic still?
It's still in the big vat, you know, and we get the can opener open every night and we pour it into the warming drawer. And that's the first thing you do when you open a concession stand for all those aspiring concessionaires out there is you start by warming that up while you get everything else going. Yeah.
You mentioned a second ago how old the West Side Little League was. Can you talk about its founding and what was going on at that time and how far it's come in those years?
Yep, we're still in our original location. We're along the Trinity River. We actually do not own our own land. We're part of the TRWD system. They started in 1954. We're about to start our 68th season. So a gentleman named Mr. Kelly was one of the, I don't know if you would call him the founder. Frankly, a lot of people in Fort Worth that are very well known, a lot of their parents or grandparents were kind of the founding group. But Mr. Kelly was kind of the main impetus and probably the first quote commissioner president for 20 years. So influential that they ultimately named the park for him. And we're very blessed. We have a great plot of land. We are a community ballpark, so all of our kids that play there are in the kind of the general vicinity. And again, 68 years of baseball. We've expanded a little bit on that land, but it's pretty much the original footprint. Going back to the 50s.
It was like, say the West Side Lions, because was it part of, like, how did that work?
It was part of West Side Lions, and frankly, I think if you still Google it, it still shows up as West Side Lions. And my understanding, this predates me, but at some point, the affiliation really stopped, and we continued to be called West Side Lions, which made we actually had to pay a little insurance money for that, and I think ultimately they just decided to break. I don't think there was anything specific that drove it, but we did ultimately separate. So,
and do you think that the fact that you are owned by like a large governmental entity has possibly kept is the reason that your outfields aren't falling into the river like another unnamed Little League right here in town?
We can name them. I think we're talking ULL possibly.
I pushed the button, but I didn't even mess it up. Yeah.
We'll get into that in a second.
Okay.
Is there, if you don't mind, is the West Side Little League, are they friendly? Is there a competitive environment between them? How does that scenario unfold?
Very competitive.
Okay.
The way Little League works, you play your regular seasons, and really, so you basically play from March through May, what you would call intra-league within your own league, and then the All-Star season starts in June, and that is when we run into all the little leagues, ULL, Western Hills, etc. We're very competitive. We have a really good working relationship with each other. I don't think that's always been the case between the two leagues, but they have a really strong group that runs that league as well, and again, it's a really good relationship at the, call it the executive level, but once you get into the games in June, there's not a lot of friendliness.
And in those games in June, does Weatherford still put the West Side Little League against each other for the first games and try to actually have the interleague knock itself out?
It's very specific question.
It's not from any kind of experience in there. It's really purely hypothetical.
I'm not going to say it was Weatherford that does that, but there is a league that does that, and it happened to us last year, actually. Yes, these things still happen. Our district is very competitive, and in these tournaments that are not sanctioned by the actual Little League organization, there are some shenanigans that just kind of magically appear.
Shenanigans in Little League.
Yes, who would have guessed?
Yes,
who would have guessed?
Rob, what's the annual budget of West Side Little League, if you can share?
Sure. I guess probably the easiest way to talk about it is we're probably a $250,000 to $300,000 annual budget. As I mentioned earlier, about 50% of it is paid for with registration fees, and then the other 50% is paid for via some concessions proceeds, but primarily we sell outfield signs, we seal naming rights and things of that nature. So it's a big undertaking. We're in the middle of a capital campaign. We are really proud of our facilities. They're amongst the best in the state of Texas, but we always want to make them better. So we're hitting our constituents up for that, and hoping to continue set this up for the next generation. I only have 2 more years there with my youngest son, so I want to certainly leave it better than I found it.
How does the NIL and portal play into that? Is that going to help with that fundraising effort?
I think it will.
Okay.
I think it will. We can really get a lot of these kids that are not in our district, and if we get enough NIL money, we can get them to move into the district.
Excellent.
And really make it accretive and profitable for the parents as well, because we want them to be adequately compensated for the talent of their children. Yeah.
How much of that $300,000 annual budget funds your salary, by the way? Just kidding. Let's see. So one of the always fun things about Westside Little League, aside from the actual games, which are incredible to watch, are the parents.
Yes.
There's parent stories. There's books written about parents. There's all kinds of fun stuff about parents.
Yeah.
Many a styrofoam cup too at those games.
And before you tell us anything pertinent, there is a sign that hangs on the fence at Westside Little League, which is in probably almost every Little League park, that says 5 things. These are kids. This is just a game. The coach is a volunteer. The umpires are human. And your kids don't play for the Texas Rangers. More or less, that's what they say. I've always thought that was so funny. But then I think about these stories about kids that hopefully you can share a few. Is it appropriate to say there are some crazy parent stories that you can enlighten us with?
There are. Actually, there's a mother who was taken aback by that sign. She thought that the fact that we called out that her kids didn't play for the Texas Rangers was essentially going to disincentivize these kids from playing baseball in the future, because it was telling them they had no chance at being there. So
cancel that last line.
Yes.
There, huh?
Yeah. There are crazy stories top to bottom. We have been able to get them under control a little bit more recently. We kind of have a no tolerance policy there, but yeah, I mean, there's
who's enforcing that, by the way? They might need some help.
Yeah. So yeah, we do have a few. We have, there's the kind of minor stuff that's definitely breaking rules, but is kind of a little bit funny. There's the coaches who tell the last batter in the order that they need to use the restroom when they're about to be up, and just kind of magically get shifted back to the back of the order. That's not allowed, but it has been reported to me on more than one occasion.
Very smart.
I'd like to share a little trick of our trade when you're done, Rob. Go. Keep going.
We have a parent who was in the Pee Wee division. You still pitch to your kids.
Oh yes.
And, as you may or may not know, we're on the river, and so we had a parent one time who was about to get out there and pitch, and realized that the game was about to start, and he had not necessarily taken the time to go to the restroom yet. And as opposed to running back to the restroom, which is only about 100 yards away,
and well kept facilities. At that.
He kind of snuck around to the side gate and relieved himself. And I just, poor guy, happenstance, the umpire happens to be looking at him, and he goes, "Hey, what are you doing?" And long story short, he was ejected. And he's a great guy, and he probably is going to listen to this and be like, "Oh," but no, he's a good dude, and a little bit of a mistake. We really encourage people to urinate, at least the parents in the restrooms. The kids, we always look the other way if you really got to go. But that's half the fun of Little League is the bathroom break.
Yeah, that's a good little life lesson, I think. I remember specifically when I was pitching coach pitch, and I was pitching, which I should never have been doing. I remember the waft of a good gin meeting my nose. I'm like, that's weird. I can smell gin out here. So it's not these kids.
Yeah.
Go after the game, I go to the dugout, or I go with the crowd, and I start smelling that gin smell. It's one of the parents talking to me. I'm like, "You're the gin I smelled on the mound." I always love that part of the left side. And plus, people come there that don't have kids. I know this. And they might actually bring a drink. Maybe it's just iced tea. But they will watch the little kids play baseball. And I think that's kind of cool.
So, funny story. You may or may not know this. We have a lot of supply chain shortages right now. But one of the things that is absolutely the hardest for us to procure is Topo Chico in plastic bottles. We can't have glass out there.
Yeah.
it's the number one thing that parents ask for. And while I want to believe it's all on the up and up, and it's it's just a glass of Topo Chico,
There's
and
no mixers there.
We don't have that, but I just there's always a stinging suspicion, and literally last weekend I was at Sam's and they happen to have a pallet of it there, and I texted our concessions manager and I was like, what do I get? She literally said, get it all. Get all. We literally cannot sell enough Topo Chico. But I'm going to choose to believe that's just because.
Can I offer you a Schweppes Club Soda as an alternative by any chance?
We all have our standards, Brinton.
For sure. You know that J-Dub and I actually coached a championship team there. I don't know if that has been it. It was kind of a way that we got back together.
2002 team.
Oh, who's counting though? Who remembers this?
We'll get into that.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you the strategy though behind that was when you talk about the batting and stuff, those kids are all different sizes. I mean, J-Dub's kid was super tall. Mine was super short. We did this thing where we're like, let's not go with the strength of batter on the lineup. Let's just stagger them because it was the first year a kid pitch. And there's no way a kid could pitch to a kid rider's size and then as short as my kid. And so it was just, it was kind of the magic moment.
I like that.
I remember, and it must have been an 8 or 9-year-old, totally mind screwing me. He was moving his glove like this. I don't know, damn hard enough time finding the mound, and he was doing this to me. And I was like, I knew it was the kid's name. Stop doing that. I can't pitch.
And there were a lot of conversations. I mean, it's a great time. And it was like, J-Dub, can you keep that one kid from throwing the other kid in the trash can in the dugout, please? I mean, you remember the dugout duty? Nobody wanted that either. So maybe you could talk about like, just what you're trying to accomplish. But I mean, I think that everybody's got a great Little League memory. You don't have a lot of people who are going, oh, Little League was the worst for me. I mean, no matter what, it's just because the kids are of all skill levels, and it's can get really competitive. But talk about that maybe a little bit too, Rob.
Yeah, no, it's been we're obviously big believers that Little League builds character, teamwork. Being a member of a team is an important lesson. It is a challenge and a dogfight to get kids to play Little League. There's so many options out there. There's select baseball. There's lacrosse, which is obviously growing in popularity. So we really focus, at least at Westside, on the community aspect of what we have. As I mentioned earlier, we pull from obviously, quote, the west side of Fort Worth, or at least when we formed this league many moons ago, that was the west side. It's expanded, but we're hitting kids in underserved communities. We make Little League available for free to anyone that requests it, no questions asked. In a given season, 5 to 10% of our league is on financial aid or full-on financial assistance. We established, actually just back in the fall, an equipment exchange program. Baseball is a very expensive sport to play. The West Side price points I think are good, but you still have to buy a bat and a glove and a helmet. And so we even had a kid for his bar mitzvah raise a ton of money for essentially scholarship programs.
Wow.
And we literally have a horde of Academy gift cards, and we can hand them out to families that come to the equipment exchange, and because we don't have everything there, and give them that for a specific glove or a bat or things like that. But our goal is to grow the attendance. We're thankfully being successful at that thus far. We're trying to provide a place for people to just have a community experience, and it's really, really gone well. I mean, I think you're probably seeing this around just the world in general, but people are very desperate to get back out. I notice restaurants are crowded now again, and this has become a really fun place to be. Yes, there are shenanigans along the way, but the overwhelming majority of the people are just there to watch their kids play baseball and have a great time. And so far we've been able to provide that.
Can you talk about that growth, Rob, a little bit from maybe inception till now? You've mentioned it, I think, a couple times, but like how much have we grown, and how big is the West Side these days? Yeah,
so I don't have our historical numbers, but we and Little League US, internationally, Little League is growing like a weed. In the United States, I believe I looked on the Little League website about a year ago, we're at kind of a 3% annual decline. And I think West Side was probably on that same kind of general path. In kind of 2019, we had a little bit of a turnover, and that's when a lot of the current group that are managing it have kind of come in, and we bottomed that year at probably around 425 kids in the spring season. This upcoming spring season 2022, we'll have about 650. So we've really been able to kind of turn it, and part of it is just communicating, being more visible, being more transparent, adopting technology candidly, web-based scheduling and, everybody.
Do you guys stream the games?
We
for
do.
The grandparents.
Yep,
and stuff?
actually, we stream, and then in the coming days, we're actually moving from 4 megapixel to 12 megapixel cameras. So
high def, you can actually see your grandchild.
We you know what, and that's why we put that in. And we don't probably have the technology to truly track our viewers, but I think
neither do we.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
About
we have 5 though.
Yeah,
you know that, Rob.
We have a lot actually, which is crazy. But here's the funny thing: I think about half of them are grandparents that live in other cities and states, and then the other half of them are coaches who love to do screenshots of their bad pitches and then send them to me or someone else and tell them how bad our umpires are.
Are you serious?
And you use it for scouting. I mean, it's pretty fun. Everybody takes it pretty seriously, but really for the most part, they know there's a line and they don't cross it. And
right.
I think that's what makes it so great.
Yeah.
I mean, these coaches care. They put a lot of time and effort into it. They are the lifeblood of our league. I think we have an incredible group, and that goes at the assistant level and even the moms and dads that just help out. So it's a great group. We kid, but in general, they're doing a wonderful job.
You think the kind of that
something good's coming.
No, it's just pretty serious. Like when we were doing it with our kids, there was this looming threat of select, right?
Yes.
And then almost, I don't know what kind of COVID did with that, or if that was it, or I almost feel like everything's coming back to not so select. That people are kind of seeing that, hey, the old school little league is maybe the way to go, that maybe this super hyper focus for one sport, one kid type of thing.
Yeah.
Will you talk a little of that?
Sure. Select is look, my kids are little league kids. My kids have also played select on the side to get supplemental games in. So I select is by most definitions a competitor of ours, but I would say we also peacefully coexist. We ULL, you mentioned them earlier. We try to make our leagues compatible with select. Select, thankfully, mostly plays on weekends, and so we don't do this necessarily, but in the fall we certainly do more. We will not schedule games on certain weeks or certain days if we know some teams need to play tournaments, and we try to be able to give our families the option of doing both or picking one if they want to.
Yeah.
I think select is it's a formidable competitor, but again, there is a place for it. I think there's a lot of good that actually comes out of it.
Well, what I did was I got all the free gear down at Westside, and then I paid for my son to play select. No, I'm kidding.
Nice. Do you guys is Captex one of y'all sponsors? Just kind of crossed my mind. If they're not, we're about to ask them because they're one of ours. Rob, I don't know if we mentioned that, but we're we love these guys. So.
I'm going to go. I know Mike, big fan of Mike. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I think they are. Yeah. I literally will know in 30 minutes when I'm hanging those signs and I see the Captex one, but I don't.
Or you're going to be calling Mike Thomas.
Or I'm going to be calling Mike
Captex.
and hitting him up.
Hit him up at like 2 a.m. because he likes the late night call.
He does.
And he will get back to you. That's for damn sure.
Yeah,
that's actually the beautiful thing about the guy. So.
Yeah. No, he's a great guy, and he's a great asset for Fort Worth.
Yeah.
Can we talk about umpires real quick?
Yes.
Who are these angels in striped clothing that do this job? They get beaten to holy hell. And why do they do it?
Speaking of beaten, if I can bring up one example.
Please.
Oh, goodness.
There was an umpire, and there was a kid with my older son who the kid was pitching heat. I mean, this kid, he went to Heights. He was a fantastic pitcher. I mean, he was a strong pitcher. He broke an umpire's cup one game. The ball, in Little League, the catcher completely missed it. It was a straight shot. The umpire's cup broken. So we were told. Just bring that up. Okay, go ahead, Rob.
What happened next, though? There's more to the story, I think.
Did he have no kids? Did he have how old was this guy?
Did he leave? Did he go home?
J-Dub, I didn't really follow him to the car to see if he had a spare cup, and
did
then
he leave on his own accord?
Yeah,
was he carried out?
He actually went to the river instead of going to the facilities, and he was arrested on the river that day. Okay, Rob, back to the question.
You are correct. They are angels.
Yes.
They are. It's a great group of guys and gals. We have both. We have a wonderful head umpire who's been at our field since 2003. His name is Iggy, and we've just had a wonderful relationship with him.
Is he the one with the mohawk, like the thick mohawk?
Yes,
It's kind of like a thick mohawk.
Yeah. Ex service member, just a wonderful guy.
Yeah.
He's the one that gets all the umpires. They are, you're right. Nobody likes the calls. As I tell our coaches, at the beginning of each year, what I want is umpires that show up on time, that are appropriately dressed, that behave well and that know the rules. And we're just going to understand that we all miss calls, and we're going to miss several calls in a game. And you just need to probably hope that over the course of a season, it kind of evens out for each team. And
it's okay to smoke in the parking lot like Carl. We miss you, Carl. That's an honor to you, Carl. I love smelling that cigarette smoke in the parking lot, my friend. I thought it was just such a thing for the kids coming in to see an umpire out there blasting a cigarette in the parking lot.
We don't allow that anymore. So no, we try to keep the parking lot clean.
Today, Carl quit.
No, he's a great umpire.
Yeah,
so
he is.
Are they paid, Rob? Or are they volunteers as well?
They are paid. Now, when you watch the Little League World Series and things like that, those guys are all volunteers. And there are some leagues locally where they are volunteered, but no, ours are paid.
Nice. Have any of your kids made it to the big leagues that you know of?
I was trying to think of this on the way over. I am not aware of anyone that's actually played Westside and made it to the majors. I bet there is someone.
Collegiately, there's got to be more than a few, right?
Yeah, we've had several. We talked about it earlier. Darren Wood played here kind of around my time, which would have been Little League early, or I guess 80s, and he went on to the College World Series. The Brockermeyer twins, who are at the Alabama football team on the offensive line, they are alums.
Talk about pitching heat, man.
Yeah. A lot of the kids on the 2002 World Series team actually went on to play for the Arlington Heights State Championship team when they were a little bit older. And so it's the historian in me needs to beef up on that. But I we've had a lot that have gone a long way. I'm not sure anyone's ever played Major League Baseball.
Well, you segued right into it. The 2002 Westside Little League team.
Yeah.
This is a historic accomplishment. There's in fact, a memento standing in the Westside Little League Park.
Yep.
Can we tell a little bit about why we're here? Is this exact team?
Yep.
There's some stories coming out about that team and what all transpired.
Absolutely.
Can you walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's the 20th anniversary of the Westside team. Then in the year 2000,
let me do the math real quick.
Yep,
that's correct.
I think we're good.
You nailed it.
Otherwise, we're gonna have to cancel a lot of plans. But no, it's 20th anniversary. In 2002, our all-star team made it all the way to Williamsport, made it to the U.S. either final or semifinal. I'm blanking off the top of my head right now, and it's a big accomplishment. I lived in New York City at the time, and I remember that was back when you had to have a TiVo to record something. I remember recording all the games and coming home from work to watch it. And it was, I lived with my brother. We were ULL kids growing up, but it was really neat to see those kids make it. They to this day, I found out, I saw it last year, they played the longest Little League World Series game ever in terms of, I think, innings and hours. And that team is at the 20th anniversary. They are all coming back to our field on Friday, April 8th for kind of a reunion fundraiser. Nice. And we're putting together we're going to have an MC discussion and a video, and we're trying to get really anyone who has been associated with Westside ever, but certainly the last 20 years, to kind of come back and quote, get the band back together.
Sure.
If we raise some funds, that's great, but really it's just about getting this community tight, and key. I think they're tight now, but I think we can kind of expand it. And it's a big accomplishment. My now 13-year-old son, we just spent 4 years chasing that dream. We worked really hard, and we had a great team, and we didn't get there. I mean, we didn't even get that close. And you just realize what a true accomplishment it is to get that far along. I mean, there are a lot of little leagues out there that you have to go through. And
what Mr. Dent is? Can you tell me that name? Because I do remember seeing the part of the field.
Yep.
What's the significance? You talked about the Kelly family, and I think that he was a coach in all of that.
Yep.
But the Dent.
The Spencer Dent Foundation. built. We have a kind of a almost like a clubhouse, you'd call it. I know you guys have seen it, but we have it was designed after the old ballpark at Arlington. And the Dent Foundation built that, I believe in the late 90s, in honor of Spencer Dent, who was a little bit younger than me growing up, but I knew him a little bit. Tragically lost his life at camp, but loved West Side Little League and just loved baseball in general. And so Dwayne and the Spencer Dent Foundation erected that facility, and that is where our boardroom sits. That's where our umpire locker room is. That's where our bathrooms are, and it's a really neat facility. A few years ago, we hosted a sectional tournament there, and I was putting up a sign beforehand, and one of the teams showed up really early, and a dad on that team grabbed me and said, is this a museum? Like, can I go see the museum? And it really looks that nice. So that foundation has been a wonderful contributor to Westside on a number of different levels throughout the years. We're very blessed to have them.
Yeah.
I would say so. That's a fantastic story, man. I wish you guys luck in that.
And that's where the draft, that there's never anything but legitimacy to
Absolutely,
that draft,
no.
is there? And the mothers aren't outside the door. And I say mothers more than fathers because I think the draft is a very mother hen thing too.
Brenton, I don't know what you're talking about. You're just really off base on that point.
Speaking of, who are worse as parents, moms or dads?
Oh man,
is that a question you could answer?
I could hide from it, but I guess what I'd say is I think it's pretty equal opportunity now. I think you. I really do want to emphasize the overwhelming majority are just awesome.
Sure,
but you definitely have a few that care a lot, and
so PC.
The new bar they installed in right field is doing really well
in the museum.
Yes.
The upstairs boardroom area. Hi, I'd like another topo and
it's you know what, you learn a lot running a little league.
I'll bet you do.
But it's a great experience, honestly.
Oh, that's good.
Glad you love it. You guys do a wonderful job. Real quickly, want to talk about your family because we all know, everybody knows you or your dad, Bob, or your brothers. You got an awesome family. How's everybody doing in the family?
They're doing great. Both of my brothers' kids play at Westside. They both either coach or help coach, which is a major coup. We were all ULL kids growing up, and I came over first just because I had the oldest.
We appreciate the defaction.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty much the closest house to the park. And when my wife and I bought the house back in 2011, I remember, I literally looked at her and said, I guess my kids are gonna have to play West Side. And thankfully it's been a blessing. But our whole family's there. My dad's favorite sport has always been baseball. He comes to most of the kids' games. I mean, he could be up there every night based on how we all play up there, but he comes to a lot of them. My mom does too, and we're really blessed. Yeah,
that's great.
And, that's fantastic.
That's great.
Yeah, great supporters of the league. And
you come from good stock, my friend.
Oh, I don't know about
that. Little league tryouts. When does that take place typically?
That typically takes place in early February, and then the season usually gets going right around the first week in March. You take a week off for spring break, then you play really through mid-May, and that's when the championships are for the league. And then if you're lucky enough to make an all-star team after that, you can play. If you go all the way to Williamsport, you can play until the next school year.
Right.
But typically you're finished in early July or late June. So.
How many volunteers do you guys take care of?
Oh boy, I would imagine. So we have. There's probably, if I add up my assistant, all the assistant coaches and the board members, and it's comfortably north of 100. I mean, it takes a village. It's a large organization.
Background checks.
We absolutely. Absolutely do. Dwayne Dent actually does all of our background checks. Yeah, anyone who is a coach, assistant, concessions, they all have to go through a background check process.
Question about smoking cigarettes in the parking lot on that application?
You know what? That did not make the list, but that's a self-policing
no smoking
thing.
sign.
Self-policing.
No
I think that's
smoking
funny. That's a funny word. Self-policing. Yeah.
Yes. That's the only way to do it.
I'm just self-policing tonight.
Yeah.
Well, Rob, we think the world of you. We think the world of Westside Little League.
Yeah.
Thank you for what you do. We wish you well in this 2002 endeavor that's
Yeah.
coming forward.
Thank you.
Congrats
And
on the 20-year
we
anniversary.
always end it with a question. Sorry,
No,
and
this is
just
you.
you know, on the best day, but like you're gonna have personal best days and stuff. I think it's great that you've done. I mean, this is volunteer stuff, and it's not an easy volunteer gig when you have parents who are pretty caring about certain things.
Yeah.
Well, let's do like this. What do you think the best day of doing this ballpark? It doesn't have to be commissioners. It could be anything. Like
Sure.
the best day at that ballpark probably was so far.
My wife asks me this a lot when I'm coming home late from volunteering up there. My favorite days are typically a Saturday or a Sunday. I mentioned I live a block away from the park. When I'm coming home from something and probably on my way to the park, and I see the parking lot is so full that they're literally parked almost all the way up to my house, just along Rockwood Park Drive.
Yeah.
And you go in there and it's like a pretty day, and the stands are packed. You have that like really good smell of, we have really good burgers there. Like
Yes.
we have that smell of burgers like coming out of the
Yeah.
concession stand. And like there's a good, typically Colt, which is the 7 to 8 year old group. There's a good Colt game going on where the parents are just cheering, not fighting, cheering.
Yeah.
And just the happiness you feel there, like that's why we do it.
Yeah.
Because it's a really cool experience for all the kids and the families, and there's just not a lot of that these days. And so, those are my happiest. That's why I do it.
Yeah. That's a great
Outstanding
answer.
answer. Well, thank you again for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you to Captex Bank for being a sponsor.
Thank you, Mike.
Grateful. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah. Thank you,
Appreciate
guys.
you, Rob.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
FORTitude or